Tonight we are not attending a lecture. We are stepping into a gentle journey, a way of seeing shaped by the quiet brilliance of Immanuel Kant. Not a maze of doctrines, but a soft path through the fog of thought. What we meet here are invitations, not commandments, open doors for curiosity, questions that trust the wisdom already resting inside you. We will wander through stories, humble insights, and contemplative pauses, speaking to that part of the mind that is curious and calm, like a lake that reflects the sky when the wind is still. By the end, perhaps a small, steady shift will have occurred, a sense of ground beneath your feet, clarity where there was overwhelm, a quieter rhythm in the mind. Welcome to SleepyPhilosopher, a sanctuary for the mind. Here there is nothing to fix and nothing you must prove. You may let your shoulders loosen, your breath soften, and your thoughts drift like leaves on a slow river. If you feel a kinship with this path of quiet reflection, you are gently invited to subscribe, only if it feels right. And if you wish, share in the comments where and when you are listening from, the city lights, the countryside hush, the hour upon your clock. Now let us take a soft, conscious breath together, in through the nose, easy and cool. Out through the mouth, unhurried and warm. Our first step begins here, finding ground in a chaotic world. We will move slowly and discover how Kant's way of looking can help us feel steady, even as the world swirls around us. There are times when the world feels like too much news, opinions, data points firing like distant stars. Kant begins here with the overwhelming complexity of things and asks a tender question. How does the mind bring order to experience so we can walk without stumbling? Born on 22 April 1724 in Königsberg, a Baltic city of ships and seasons, he learned early that clarity is something we cultivate, not something the world gives to us. Years later, in 1781, he offered a lantern for the bewildered, a book called The Critique of Pure Reason, a patient exploration of how our minds shape experience, a map for moving from confusion to coherence. But beneath the grand titles and careful arguments is something simple, the wish to feel the ground. To know that even in the storm of information, there is a stable rhythm within us that can meet the world without being washed away. Imagine Königsberg at dusk. Cobblestones hold the day's warmth, and the river drifts past the bridges like a long, steady breath. A young scholar walks the same path each evening, coat buttoned against the sea air. Neighbors, it is said, could set their clocks by his walk, not because life was small, but because routine became a quiet instrument for the mind. In a small room with a simple desk, a candle's flame steadies itself, and he turns questions over like smooth stones. What do we truly know? How does our seeing shape what is seen? Outside, market voices fade, ships settle in the harbor, and the city softens. Inside, a gentler world emerges, a rhythm of thought that does not chase everything at once, but listens for the order beneath appearances, the way a melody can be heard within the many notes of an orchestra. In this calm attention, complexity stops being a storm and becomes a sky with constellations we can navigate. And so, this old city and its quiet walker find their echo in our lives today. The market is now a glowing screen, the harbor a tide of notifications. the voices of the crowd arriving faster than our breath. The question is the same. When the world is loud, where is the ground? Perhaps it begins with a gentle practice, a small rhythm we can trust, one stretch at the same hour, one mindful sip of water before the first glance at the phone, one slow breath at every doorway we cross. Let us try it now. Soften the muscles around the eyes. Let the jaw unclench. Place a hand on your chest if you like and feel the rise and fall. Inhale softly. Exhale longer than the in-breath. Bring to mind one moment from today when it all felt like too much. See if you can set that moment down on a table in your mind, as if you were placing a book there. Notice that the table is steady. You are the one placing the book. Ask quietly, what simple rhythm could be my Königsberg walk? What gentle order can my mind offer to the world's complexity, so I can move with clarity and ease? Allow this question to rest with you as we continue, like a small lantern beside the path, guiding each step into calm. As we continue from the ground we found together, we turn gently toward a first key on our path, how we perceive. In the last segment, we noticed that calm can be cultivated within, that our minds quietly shape the way the world appears. Tonight, we look more closely at that shaping. The world does not arrive to us as raw and formless. It arrives as a stream our minds give contours to, like light passing through a prism and revealing colors that were always there, but needed a certain angle to be seen. Immanuel Kant offered a radical kindness to our bewilderment by saying, "The mind is not merely a window, it is also an architect." In his critique of pure reason, he described space and time as the forms through which we receive experience, and spoke of guiding ideas, categories like causality, that our minds contribute to what appears. This is not a scolding, but a soft invitation. If our inner architecture helps build the world we experience, then peace can be found not only by changing the world, but by tending the architecture. Let us explore this with a simple story. There was once a woman named Eileen who kept a small square of stained glass on her desk. It had been part of a broken window from her childhood home. In late afternoon, when the sun reached her office, the clear white light would pass through the colored square and paint her papers with a gentle field of crimson. Eileen worked in a busy clinic where voices rose and phones rang. One day, two colleagues laughed in the hallway just after she presented a new idea. Her chest tightened. She felt sure the laughter was about her, and a familiar story began to unfurl. I am being judged, I am not enough. She almost retreated into silence, but her eyes fell on the stained glass. She breathed, slow and small. Perhaps, she thought, the red is not in the sun, it is in the glass. Perhaps the hurt is not in the moment, but in the lens I'm looking through. That evening she tried a practice. When a moment stung, she asked, what am I seeing through? Is it the lens of old criticism, the lens of haste, the lens of worry? Weeks passed, the hallway laughter returned as hallways do, but the story shifted. Sometimes they were laughing about a birthday, sometimes about nothing at all. The peace she felt did not come from changing the hallway, it came from recognizing her glass and from learning how to set it down. And so, this older wisdom finds its echo in our own lives. Each day we scroll, we listen, we plan. We stitch together fragments into a whole, like a weaver at a loom choosing which threads to bring forward. Our minds do this skillfully, categorizing, relating, anticipating, so quickly that the pattern seems to come from the fabric itself. Modern life amplifies this weaving. Algorithms hand us threads dyed with our previous choices, headlines select the brightest hues, old memories tint the rest. A look from a stranger becomes a verdict. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A brief silence becomes a storm. But the insight we began with, clarity cultivated within, offers a gentler option. We can notice the lens before we declare the world. Like adjusting the aperture of a camera, we can soften the glare. Like changing the angle to a prism, we can see a different color in the same light. The small, repeated rhythms we practiced, those steadying breaths, those tiny rituals, become the hands that steady the loom. They do not erase reality, they refine our seeing of it. Let us try something simple together. Take a gentle breath in and a longer breath out. Bring to mind a small moment from today that carried a ripple of tension, a message unanswered, a tone that felt sharp, a plan that shifted. Hold it softly as if you were cupping a fragile shell. Now ask with patience, through which lens did I look? Was it the lens of urgency, of self-protection, of perfection? Imagine, just for a moment, placing that lens beside you. What remains of the scene when the tint is gone? Does another possibility appear, simple, ordinary, less personal? Allow this question to sit quietly with you. If my perceptions help build my world, what world do I wish to practice seeing? As you rest tonight, let the mind be a kind architect. Let the light come in as it is, and let your chosen lens be one that softens, clarifies, and opens space for peace. We will continue, step by step, learning how to see with greater gentleness. We have already felt the ground grow steadier beneath us, and we have peered gently into the lenses through which our minds shape experience. Now we arrive at a turning point, the quiet pivot where the room itself seems to rotate, and yet it is we who turn. Kant invites us to consider something both simple and astonishing. That the world, as we experience it, is not a sovereign ruler pressing its stamp upon a passive mind. Rather, our mind provides the form, the pathways, the soft architecture through which the world shows itself. It is as though experience meets us on a stage our understanding has already set, with lights and lines of movement placed beforehand. Instead of chasing after objects and asking our knowledge to fit them, Kant proposes we allow the possibility that appearances fit us, that they answer to the inner compass we carry. Let us linger here with a breath. Inhale softly. Exhale even softer. What changes if the road does not require us to become its shape, but the road becomes walkable because of the path-making within us? To illustrate, Kant reaches for the sky. Earlier thinkers imagined the heavens wheeling around a still earth. Then came a daring reorientation. Nicolaus Copernicus asked us to suppose the observer is moving, not the stars. In the preface to the second edition of the Critique of Pure Reason, published in 1787, Kant suggests an analogy just as radical for philosophy. Perhaps objects must conform to our cognition, and not our cognition to objects. Imagine standing on a slowly turning platform beneath a dome of lights. The ceiling seems to drift, the constellations slide, but the shift is not in the sky, it is in the footing beneath your shoes. So too with understanding. We do not bind reality in chains. We shape the way it can appear to us, through the silent patterns within, through the forms we have already met, like space and time, and through the quiet habits of organization our minds bring. Seen this way, a revolution unfolds without thunder. By changing where we stand, the entire horizon changes with us. And so, this old insight finds its echo in our own lives. Think of unfolding a city map on a windy corner. Turn it just a little so the streets align with the way you face, and a path appears where a tangle once confused. Or open your phone and switch the map from north up to heading up. The same neighborhood, the same buildings, yet a new ease enters the body. Nothing in the city has moved, your standpoint has. We make such Copernican turns more often than we notice, reframing a deadline as a point of focus instead of a threat, seeing a colleague not as an obstacle but as a partner. Widening the camera from zoomed detail to a gentle wide shot. The world we meet is braided with the way we meet it. When we tend our inner orientation, our categories, our expectations, our quiet readiness, the scene clarifies without the scene itself needing to change. This is not denial, it is design. It is the mind setting a table at which experience can be kindly received. Let us test this softly without strain. Recall a recent moment when a small turn in perspective changed the feel of everything. A conversation that eased when you listened for what mattered rather than what was missing. A task that lightened when you named it a learning rather than a burden. A commute that softened when you decided to let red lights be invitations to breathe. Allow the memory to float near, unforced. What exactly shifted inside? Was it the story you were telling, the angle of attention, the measure of importance? Now bring to mind something presently knotted, a worry or a decision. Hold it like a globe in your hands and turn it a few degrees. Ask gently, if my experience answers to my way of understanding, which understanding might invite more ease, more truth, more kindness here. Inhale with that question. Exhale with spaciousness. Perhaps we do not need to move the stars tonight. Perhaps we only change our footing by an inch and watch as the sky, faithful to our new stance, arranges itself into a path we can walk. Allow this possibility to sit quietly with you as we continue our unhurried turning toward peace. There's a quiet truth that hums through Kant's project. Our understanding is powerful, yet bounded. He invites us to notice that we know the world as it appears, shaped by space, time, and the concepts our understanding brings, and that beyond this luminous circle lies something we cannot grasp directly. He gives the beyond a spare, respectful name, the thing in itself, the noumenon, a horizon that calls for humility rather than conquest. When reason presses past its proper shoreline, he warns, it tangles itself in the antinomies of pure reason, arguing both sides of a question with equal force and losing its peace. In his Prolegomena to Any Future Metaphysics, published in 1783, he offered a concise path through this terrain, not to widen our circle by force, but to trace its edge with care, so knowledge can be sure where it is sure, and silence can be gentle where it must be gentle. Let us take a soft breath here, as if standing at that bright circumference where clarity meets mystery. And notice how calm arrives when we stop demanding the horizon move for us. Imagine a small team of explorers walking toward the blank margin of their map, the place once marked terra incognita. The trail lifts them to a narrow ridge, and there the world turns to a soft, living mist. Sound becomes cotton-thick. Distance can no longer be measured by sight. They try shouts and sweeping gestures, but the fog gives nothing back. So they change their way. One kneels to feel the ground's slope. Another lifts a damp strand of grass to test the current of air. They set a modest cairn of stones, then take 20 slow steps and build another, leaving a breadcrumb line of quiet markers. A rhythm emerges: move, pause, listen. Move, pause, listen. Their method is small, but it works. They cannot command the fog to part. Yet within its veil, they learn to walk by nearness instead of distance, by attention instead of prediction, by what is truly given rather than what they wish to seize. And in that surrender there is a curious ease, a steadying of the heart. And so this old wisdom finds its echo in our own lives. We live in an age that promises certainty on demand. Forecasts refreshed by the minute, graphs that glow with percentages, headlines that leap before the paint is dry. We tap, scroll, and consult, trying to pull the fog apart with our fingertips. But often the future stays missed, and when we insist on seeing farther than sight allows, our minds split into their own antinomies. Stay or go, speak or wait, trust or doubt, each case argued with impeccable reasons, each reason tangled with the next. Kant's counsel returns like a gentle hand on the shoulder: honor the boundary. Within the field of possible experience, ordered by the forms and categories of our understanding, use your reason carefully, patiently. Beyond that field, practice a reverent restraint. In the 1787 preface to the Critique, he wrote that he had to deny knowledge to make room for faith, faith not as blind belief in anything at all, but as a practical trust, an ethical poise, a way to keep walking when the map ends. Acceptance is not defeat, it is a disciplined kindness toward reality. Let us try a simple practice. On your next inhale, gently name one uncertainty in your life right now, quietly inside. On the exhale, allow it to be what it is, without argument. Imagine drawing a soft pencil line where your current knowledge ends and placing a small marker there, as the explorers did. At that marker, ask only the questions that belong on your side of the line. What is clear to me now? What one step is wholesome and possible? What care is mine to take with the time and space before me? Then listen for the ground's answer, a felt sense, a small clarity, a next gentle action. If the mind rushes to pry open the fog, return to the rhythm, move, pause, listen. Allow this thought to sit quietly with you. That peace does not require the horizon to move, only our willingness to meet it with humility. Perhaps we can hold this question gently as we rest tonight. Where in my life can I let the unknown be unknown and find freedom in that tender acceptance? We have walked together through how the mind shapes experience and how humility steadies us before the edges of what we can know. Tonight, we take the next step. The same clear faculty that orders appearances can also guide our choices. Reason for Kant is more than a lantern for understanding. It is a compass for the will. Not a compass made of failing, which can swirl like weather, but of a principle that stays true when the air is crowded with opinion and the future is cloudy. In 1785, in the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, he named this inner law the categorical imperative. Act only on a rule you could will to be a universal law. It sounds austere, but its promise is gentle. When outcomes are uncertain and emotions are loud, there is still a way to stand upright without hardening the heart. Let us take a soft breath here and feel the quiet possibility of a life oriented by such a compass. Imagine a small office late in the evening, the building mostly dark, the city a distant hush beyond the glass. A young entrepreneur sits at the desk, a contract glowing on the screen. If she slightly inflates her numbers, funding will almost certainly arrive, salaries will be paid, the team's hopes preserved. If she does not, the deal may collapse. Her pulse quickens, she thinks of faces, rent due, the dream they share. Then she places a hand on the desk and asks a quiet question. Could I will a world where anyone, in pressure's heat, misrepresents to secure help? She follows the thought to its end. In such a world, promises would fray, trust would thin, the very institution of agreement would dissolve. She considers another question. Does this treat the investors as mere tools or as ends in themselves, fellow reasoners who deserve the truth? The compass settles, she writes honestly. The risk remains, yet something in her unclenches, as if a needle has found north. And so this old wisdom finds its echo in our own lives, in comment threads in classrooms, in kitchen table choices and boardrooms, where debate often pits hot feeling against cool argument. Feeling can be a wind in our sails. Reason must be the hand on the tiller. When we are tempted to bend the rule just this once, to shade the truth because the cause is good, Kant's counsel is steady. Let your maxim be one you could share with the whole of humanity and still be willing to live by. It does not demand that we silence emotion. It asks that we let emotion be guided by a law we would offer to anyone, including those we disagree with. In foggy moments, news cycles roaring, messages pinging, loyalty pulling one way and fear another, reason can be like a small compass in a deep forest. The trees are tall, the path unclear, but the needle does not panic. Perhaps we can try this together. Call to mind one decision resting in your life, large or small. Name in simple words the rule you are tempted to follow, the maxim. Now softly ask, could I will that everyone in relevantly similar circumstances live by this same rule? Does it honor each person involved as an end and not merely a means? If you can answer yes, notice the quiet alignment in the chest, as if the inner compass clicks true. If no, feel how that same clarity invites another path. Take an easy breath. Our work in earlier nights trained the mind to see its own lenses. Tonight we let that trained mind set the course of our intention. Allow this question to sit beside you as you drift. What would it be like to live from a principle I could offer to anyone at any time without exception? Let the compass rest in your palm, steady and quiet, as you settle into the calm that follows a truthful direction. Let us lean closer to a quiet, daring claim that sits at the center of our journey. We do not encounter things as they are in themselves, but only as they appear to us, shaped by the conditions of our seeing. Kant gives this a gentle but powerful name, Transcendental Idealism. It does not say the world is a dream. It says our access to the world is always via a lens, the very frame of human sensibility and understanding. Earlier, we learned how space and time, and our deep habits of organizing experience, steady the scene before us. Now we take one step further. The painting that hangs in the gallery of our life may be real, yet what meets our eyes is the painting as filtered through the light we carry. Kant sometimes called what we meet phenomena, appearances, and he reserved a quiet name, des Dingen sich, the thing in itself, for what lies beyond our grasp. The German word for appearance, Erscheinung, reminds us that what shows itself is always a showing, never the whole. And here is the kindness hidden in this thought. When we stop demanding the absolute from our limited vantage, a soft harmony returns to the mind. Let us breathe with that. Imagine an artist in a modest studio, returning to the same canvas across many mornings and evenings. In the pale light of dawn, the blues on the canvas feel crisp and cool, like air before speech. At noon, sunlight spills across the paint, and the same blues lean toward green, warm and alive. In the hush of night, a small lamp throws amber across the surface, and the painting becomes a memory of itself, softer, deeper, almost secret. The canvas, in its wood and pigment, has not changed. But the artist has slightly, subtly, with each hour, each breath, each thought returning from the day. Their intention, their mood, their hopes, all of these are part of how the painting appears. One evening, brush in hand, the artist pauses and smiles. I never see this painting naked, they think. I always clothe it in the fabric of my seeing. And in that recognition, the work becomes gentler. The artist is no longer angry at the canvas for not revealing itself completely. They honor the conversation that is happening instead, the canvas offering, the eye receiving, and between them, the quiet miracle of appearance. And so this wisdom echoes softly in our own lives. We seek what we call authenticity, in the food we eat, the places we travel, the music we collect, the clothes we wear. We choose the hand-thrown mug, the vintage jacket, the off-the-beaten-path cafe, the photograph tagged no filter. But even here, our experience is not delivered raw. It is shaped by our expectations, our stories, our values. The mug holds more than tea. It holds the feeling of supporting a craftsperson, the story of a market morning, the warmth of belonging to a slower rhythm. The place we visit is more than coordinates. It is how our longing meets its horizon. Nothing false in this, only the reminder that authenticity is not an essence we can hold in our hands, but a relationship between who we are and what we meet. When we remember this, we become gentler with the world and with each other. We stop mistaking our angle for the whole view. The moral compass we set earlier, respecting persons as ends, quietly aligns with this humility. We give others room to appear, knowing our sight is never total. Let us try a simple practice here. Bring to mind one possession nearby, perhaps your phone, a book, a ring, a well-worn sweater. Without judgment, sense what it represents to you. Is it safety, memory, pride, connection, possibility? Notice the layers this object carries: gift, effort, story, hope, and how those layers color what it is like to meet it. Allow a slow breath in and out. Can we let the object be what appears for us, without demanding it reveal a final, hidden essence? And can we extend the same grace to the moments that fill our days, to conversations, to places, to ourselves, recognizing that what shows up is always a showing, changing with the light we bring? As we rest tonight, perhaps we can hold this question gently. What do my possessions and my experiences truly stand for in me? If there is no final answer, let that be a friendly sky above your thoughts. In the quiet of not knowing, a calm understanding settles. We live among appearances, and that is enough for peace. We have been traveling together from confusion toward coherence, step by step, learning how our minds shape the world that appears before us. Tonight, we take a quieter step, from seeing to being, from concept to embodiment. What does peace feel like when it is not just an idea, but a way our understanding rests within the world's movement? If appearances are always arriving through the forms and rhythms of our own minds, then peace is not the absence of turmoil outside, but a gentle alignment inside. It is the felt posture of understanding, the soft strength of accepting that life will rustle and whirl while we keep a steady center. After learning the limits of what can be known and honoring the dignity of moral intention, we now practice a calm that doesn't resist the storm but receives it. Understanding becomes a kind of breathing, an inward-outward tide where insight and acceptance meet. As we settle into this, let us take one slow, unforced breath together, as if polishing a small window from the inside. Inhale softly. Exhale even softer. We begin to embody peace by letting comprehension become kindness, both to the world as it appears and to the one who is seeing it, ourselves. Picture a potter working in a simple studio on a windy evening. The wheel hums. Outside, shutters rattle and a distant clock strikes the hour. The clay first wobbles, wide and unsteady. The potter wets their hands, lowers their shoulders, and finds the center, not by stopping the spin, but by meeting it. Pressure is adjusted, not with force, but with listening fingertips. The rim blurs, the axis steadies. A form begins to rise from the motion, a bowl thin as a breath. The storm does not end, the world doesn't go quiet on command. But the potter discovers the still line around which motion becomes form. With each exhale, the hands soften and the shape grows clearer. The humility of touch, the patience of small corrections, the trust that a center can be found within movement, this is peace as a practice. Not escape, but alignment. Not denial, but a skillful attention that turns spinning into shape and noise into pattern. And so, this old wisdom finds its echo in our own lives when the inbox overflows, when the call drops, when the plan derails, when headlines surge like weather. We long for mindfulness in turbulent times, and Kant quietly offers a way. Do not demand the sky stop shifting. Discover the stance that meets it. He once wrote, closing his critique of practical reason in 1788, of two presences that fill the mind with ever new and increasing awe: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. The outer vastness beyond our control and the inner clarity that remains our responsibility, together they sketch a calm dignity. We cannot command the constellations, but we can honor the orientation of the heart. We cannot halt the wind, but we can choose our intention, test our maxims, and let reason keep the candle of conscience steady. In this pairing, outer expanse, inner law, understanding becomes a sheltering posture, a way to stand in the gusts without hardening, to move without losing our axis. Let us try a small living practice now. Bring to mind one chaotic corner of your life, just one. Choose something real but workable, a difficult conversation, a crowded schedule, an unanswered message, a restless uncertainty. Gently frame it in space and time. Where does it live? When does it visit? Give it edges so the mind can hold it without spilling. Name what you truly know, and bow to what you cannot know yet. Now ask, what is one simple act here that I could will for anyone in my place? A small, honest maxim that would still feel right if many followed it. Perhaps it is to answer with clarity tomorrow, to set a boundary with kindness, to rest tonight so I can meet it well in the morning. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the outer weather be weather. Keep your inner hands steady. Feel how understanding, worn gently, becomes peace, not because the world is quiet, but because you have found the still line within the turning. Allow this felt alignment to rest with you as you drift, and trust that practice, like the potter's wheel, will shape the days to come. As our journey settles into its quiet center, we arrive at a gentle clarity. Peace ripens when the will moves in step with a universal moral rhythm that lives within us. Earlier, we practiced testing the thoughts that guide our actions, seeing if they could be lived by everyone without contradiction. Tonight, we soften even further. We are not merely following a rule from the outside. We are tuning ourselves so that the rule becomes the natural music of our character. Kant invites us to imagine an inner law that is not a chain but a clear stream, self-given by reason and chosen freely by a good will. When the will, like a hand feeling the grain of wood, moves with this inner pattern rather than against it, the mind grows quiet. In that quiet, we recognize something we have been preparing for since our first steps together. The understanding that the world we meet is shaped by our standpoint, and our standpoint can be guided, steadily, by a moral law that treats every person, ourselves included, as an end. Let us breathe softly here, letting the breath lengthen the space between impulse and choice. In that space, alignment becomes possible. Picture an evening path through coastal pines. The air is salted with the sea, and the low sun turns the sand a warm bronze. A small wooden bridge crosses an inlet where reeds whisper. You notice, tucked in the tide line, a tangle of plastic and twine. No one is watching. The wind moves the grasses like a slow hand over a harp. You kneel, gather what you can, and carry it to the bin by the trailhead. The action is simple, almost invisible, but something inside clicks into place, like a tuning fork coming into tone. The step home feels lighter, as if the earth and you are walking together. Kant once wrote of the starry heavens above and the moral law within, in his Critique of Practical Reason, published in 1788, two immensities, the outer and the inner, both inviting a quiet reverence. On this shoreline the same kinship appears, the sky broad and patient, the inner law steady and clear. You did not ask the ocean to change, only your maxim, to leave a place better than you found it, and the world somehow felt more at home. And so this ancient wisdom finds its echo in our own lives. When we try to align our daily choices with the kind of law we could will for everyone, personal ethics and environmental care begin to share a pulse. Strictly speaking, Kant centers morality on respect for rational beings, yet the reverence we hold for persons extends naturally into how we care for the shared conditions of their lives: air, water, the quiet dignity of places and creatures. Each small practice, choosing what we consume, how we travel, how we speak to one another, can be shaped by maxims we would gladly see universal. To reduce harm, to repair what we touch, to use only what we truly need, to honor the future persons who will inherit the morning. This is not a rigid program, but a way of standing in the world. In traffic, in kitchens, in boardrooms, in gardens, we can ask, if everyone acted as I am about to act, would the fabric of life be strengthened or frayed? In the asking, our inner law becomes audible, like a clear bell in a windy square, steady enough to guide the next step. Now, a gentle practice. Bring to mind one small action you will likely take tomorrow, perhaps disposing of something, sending a message, opening a door, making a purchase. Quietly shape it into a sentence that begins, "Whenever I am in this situation, I will." Then soften your gaze and ask, could I will this for everyone? Would I be at peace if this became the shared thread of our days? Notice what arises in the body. Does the breath smooth out? Does the chest open? Do the shoulders ease? When the action harmonizes with your deeper values. If there is tightness, do not scold it. Let it be information, a compass of feeling pointing toward refinement. Take another soft breath. Perhaps revise the sentence until it rests comfortably, like a key turning without resistance. Allow this question to sit quietly with you as you drift. What is one gracious maxim I could gladly share with the world and live by myself? In holding it gently, we are already practicing a state of inner moral law, not a rule pressed upon us, but a freedom that chooses the good again and again until peace feels like the natural tempo of the heart. As night gathers, we let the many steps of our journey settle into one soft rhythm, like a hush that spreads across a quiet room. We have walked together from the way the mind shapes experience, to the humility of our limits, to the simple, steady light of moral reason. Now we allow these strands to braid into something gentle and whole, a calm that doesn't argue or prove, but simply holds. Kant offered many lanterns to the weary traveler, and one of them, set down in 1785 in the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, is a small, durable idea. That our freedom is found in choosing rules we could wish for everyone. Tonight we are not solving puzzles, we are letting clarity become a feeling, like warmth growing from a quiet ember. As we rest, we let understanding soften into presence, and presence soften into peace. Let the breath move in and out, unforced, like a tide that needs no permission. This is the harmony of our path, thought becoming ease, insight becoming simple kindness, and the mind's architecture becoming a shelter where sleep can safely arrive. Imagine a small desk by a window, the night air cool, a cup releasing a thin thread of steam. A person closes the day by writing one line in a notebook. Tomorrow, I will speak in ways I could wish for everyone. They place their phone face down, turn the page as if they were turning soil, and plant this single seed. The city hum recedes. Somewhere a distant train passes and disappears. They think of the simple measure Kant gave, the kind of measure shaped in that 1785 work, and they try it on quietly. Would I gift this rule to all? The question doesn't demand an answer. It loosens the fists of the day. They sip, exhale, and feel the room become wider. The window shows a slice of moon. The notebook closes like a gentle door. Nothing dramatic, just a small rhythm practiced at the edge of sleep, where intentions are as soft as velvet and just as steady. And so this quiet wisdom finds its echo in our own lives. When the mind is busy with unfinished lists, we notice that it is the stance we bring, the lens we polish, that shapes how tomorrow will appear. If we honor our limits tonight, letting the unknowns remain unknown, we reduce the storm we might otherwise carry into morning. If we choose one simple, shareable kindness, reason becomes a compass we can feel even with eyes closed. The world may be noisy, but within we can set a gentle orientation, to meet others as whole persons and to meet our own thoughts with the same care. We are not changing the outer weather. We are choosing the shelter and the firelight by which we will greet it. In this way, the insights we explored, the mind's ordering, the humility of limits, the steady law of respect, become not lectures to remember, but a pillow for the spirit. Let us rest with one clear, gentle thread. On your next inhale, think, let my rule be kind. On your exhale, let it be one I could wish for everyone. Again, inhale, kind. Exhale, shareable. Perhaps this becomes tomorrow's quiet vow. I will meet each person, including myself, not as a tool for my plans, but as a whole human worthy of care. Allow this thought to sit with you, like a small stone warmed in the hand. If another insight calls more strongly, the acceptance of what we cannot know, or the gentle awareness that the mind co-authors experience, let that be your thread instead. There is nothing to force. Only this slow breath, this chosen orientation, this soft willingness to let reason and tenderness blend. As your body grows heavier and the room grows quiet, trust that the work is already done, the seed is planted. Sleep may come now or later. Either way, you are held by a simple promise, that a calm, clear freedom is found in the gentle law you freely embrace. As our journey settles into its quiet shoreline, let us arrive together at a simple, tender idea. The mind that once arranged chaos into clarity can also arrange the evening into rest. We have learned how attention shapes what appears, how our inner architecture steadies experience. Tonight, we let that same wisdom soften the edges of thought, guiding us toward sleep. Imagine a gentle experiment of the mind, not an argument to win, but a picture to inhabit. We will walk with Kant, slowly, unhurried, through a tranquil Königsberg forest as dusk gathers into a velvet sky. In this picture, peace is not forced, it's invited. Each step is a small, kind maxim. Walk softly, breathe slowly, let the world be as it is. As the scene takes shape, feel your own breath become the guide. Inhale and let the day recede by one measure. Exhale and allow the body to grow heavier, as if the earth itself welcomed your weight. We are not solving anything now. We are letting the mind set the room in order so that sleep may find us with ease. The path underfoot is soft with fallen needles. A pale ribbon of birch bark glows even in the dim. He walks with that familiar steadiness, the kind neighbors once trusted like a clock, yet tonight there is no schedule, only the hush of trees listening to themselves. Somewhere beyond the branches, the evening sky opens. Stars appear one by one, quiet as thoughts that do not need to prove themselves. He pauses and we pause with him, not to analyze, but to feel the simple kinship between a calm mind and a calm night. In 1788, he completed a work named The Critique of Practical Reason, and there he wrote of the starry heavens above and the moral law within, two vastnesses that fill the heart with awe. Here in the forest, those words are not a thesis. They are a temperature, a softness of air, a widening of the chest. We sit upon a smooth, time-worn stump. The hush gathers like a blanket. Each breath goes in as if the sky itself were entering, and goes out as if the body were offering thanks. Nothing more is needed. And so this old wisdom finds its echo in our own lives, where the day's glow still lingers on screens, and the chorus of tasks hums even after the lights dim. We have practiced seeing that the mind shapes experience. Now we let that practice cradle us. Imagine placing each concern upon a quiet shelf, not lost, not denied, simply set in good order for tomorrow's kinder light. The inner compass we explored still points gently north, but tonight we do not travel, we rest where we are. Your room becomes a small clearing, your bed, a warm patch of ground that remembers the sun. Thoughts drift closer then back away, like moths who realize the candle is out. What remains is a soft architecture, time settling into slower measures, space becoming spacious again, the categories of the day loosening their grip until even cause and effect feel drowsy. One breath causes the next, and that is enough. You are held within a design you helped compose. Now, allow the forest within you to deepen. If Königsberg's trees feel distant, let your mind choose its own sanctuary. A shoreline at low tide, a quiet library with tall windows, a hillside meadow with crickets and a moon like a silver coin. Picture it slowly as if painting with breath. On the inhale, add a detail, the gentle path, the cool air on your cheeks. On the exhale, soften the edges. The horizon blurs, sound grows round and warm. Let Kant's steady presence become simply a feeling of companionship, a reminder that clarity can be kind, That discipline can be gentle. That reason can tuck in the heart just as the night tucks in the world. Perhaps we count 3 easy breaths together now, like steps on the path. 1 breathing in, you feel the body receive. 2 breathing out, the jaw unclenches, the shoulders lower, the hands uncurl. 3 breathing in and out, the mind agrees to rest. Allow this picture to hold you, and as you drift, keep only one quiet question near, no heavier than a leaf. What does peace look like from within your own gentle law? Let the answer come as sleep, wordless and complete. Good night.